Dr. Disrespect has taken aim at Activision because of the decision to have themed 420 cosmetics and in-game events in Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone. Now, let's be honest, weed has kind of been a thing in Call of Duty for quite some time. They've had weed related materials in the video game. They even had Snoop Doggy Dogg in the game at one point. But now they're legitimately doing like a event based off of the unofficial holiday of 420. And yeah, it's quite interesting to see a video game developer promote drug-related content. And sure, Call of Duty is a mature game. It's not intended for children. You're shooting people. It's wartime, and I get it, okay? It's freedom of speech. Games are entitled to their creative direction. They could put stuff in games and put a warning label all they want. Sure, it's not intended for children, but let's be completely honest here. Kids are playing it. Every time I go on to Warzone, I have kids in my ear on voice chat to where I have to mute it. The kids are playing the stuff like the GTAs, the Call of Duties, you name it. They're not on Fortnite as much as they used to be. So to see a video game company like Activision openly promote 420, it is a little bit of an iffy gray area. I can see both sides of the coin. Again, it really depends on where you're from. I'm in Texas. That stuff still ain't exactly legal to partake in, but there's tons of places around the globe that have recreational use and just use it responsibly. It's kind of like with cigarettes and alcohol at this point in some of those places, right? You got to be a certain age. You got to have an ID. But here's the issue with Dr. Disrespect, all right? He hasn't shown restraint in the past when he has a fair criticism on Activision. He's one of the biggest Call of Duty streamers out there, so of course he's going to voice his opinion. He put out a tweet basically calling them out, saying that they're pushing water bongs and drugs, but that they removed Nick Merck's skin for saying leave the kids alone. This is from a situation that came a couple years ago already, where there was a social media post that Nick Merckx openly responded to and was accused of being anti-LGBTQ because he was essentially calling them groomers and stuff. And this is a very fucking divisive topic. The only reason why you're addressing it is because it does involve streamers that play video games that are quite popular in the mainstream. And a lot of these, I guess, narratives and stuff are pushing their way into the gaming industry, and they're causing division. Anyways, to continue on this, Dr. Disrespect in his tweet essentially called them a bunch of idiots at Activision and that they were the biggest suit and tie phonies in the industry. And I could see this. I don't think this is unwarranted criticism at all. But yeah, Call of Duty is intended for mature adults. But again, you have to be mindful of your audiences. You know, and I'm sure Dr. Disrespect knows, there's a lot of children playing these video games. I'm not trying to gatekeep for kids and saying that they're not allowed to play stuff if their parents give them permission. But it is odd that we're getting a 420 themed event. But at this point, honestly, again, when creative freedom and stuff, I'm fine with that. But I guess Dr. Disrespect's main thing is pointing out that Activision freaked out when Nick Merckx posted on a unrelated social media post. Had nothing to do with Call of Duty, had nothing to do with gaming. It was some kind of actual social media post that was about a news story. He posted a response saying, leave the children alone. And Activision, for some reason, bent the knee with all the backlash that they were getting from the SJW people online and removed the Nick Merckx skin, and it caused quite a bit of a controversy. I remember making a video about it. I still haven't played a Call of Duty game since the Nick Merckx situation happened where the skin was removed. I silently did a boycott and said I'm out of it. I believe Dr. Disrespect also did a boycott where he uninstalled the game live on stream because of it, but shortly after he went back and started playing Call of Duty again. So he hasn't been afraid to criticize them, but at the same token, Dr. Disrespect is still supporting Activision by playing the game and streaming it. He has a huge platform. I looked earlier, he had over 2,400 people watching him live stream Call of Duty. If you're that upset about Call of Duty removing a skin but keeping 420 related cosmetics and events in your games. I don't know. That to me seems like a little bit of a gray area. Sure, Activision has as much creative freedom as they can, but I think they should be at least a little bit mindful. Not just them, but gaming companies in general should be mindful about the content that they put out, because it does spark a divisive, I guess, debate in gaming. You got to think about the impact of what you're putting out there. But at the same time, I don't know how I feel about this. I completely and 110% agree with Nick Merckx saying leave the children alone when it comes to essentially grooming them and putting them in harmful situations. But not everybody that's LGBTQ is doing that. I don't care who somebody sleeps with on their own time if they're a grown adult. But do not harm children is where I draw the line at. So I don't think Nick Merckx was off base at all with his comment on that. And again, it wasn't even related to anything Activision or Call of Duty. You could say he represented them as an influencer and all this other mumbo jumbo. But at the same token, Activision, if you're really that worried about children when it comes to being anti-LGBTQ and all that, you got to look at the sensitive issue of drug use being portrayed in your games and worry about kids there too. So I thought this was an interesting story because it seems like Dr. Disrespect is getting a lot of backlash for calling out Activision and saying that they're hypocrites. I see his point 110%. But at the same time, he needs to uninstall the game if he's really that offended. Me personally, I'm not offended that they're doing a 420 event. I find it interesting that they're really pushing it now because there's like a Cheech and Chong crossover, I believe, as well. And it's kind of promoting as the use of gummies, sharpening your senses and things like that. Gaming industry definitely is evolving at this point with sensitive issues. And it seems like you're never going to please anybody at any point. I look at Hogwarts Legacy, look at Stellar Blade at this point, and it's going to go both sides of the equation. But I do feel Activision did show a little bit of hypocrisy with this. I think Dr. Disrespect had a good point. Unfortunately, he hasn't put his money where the mouth is and completely stayed away from the game. Activision hasn't really commented on the situation at all, but I do feel that this is a debate that is likely going to continue. It might pick up some steam here. I know a lot of you guys really don't care about Call of Duty. You feel that the series has fallen off. I guess I could see that. Do you think maybe that's why they would be having a 420 event to try to cause some publicity or controversy towards the game? It's not out of the realm of possibility, but what do you guys think about Dr. Disrespect's comments attacking Activision as hypocrites? Let me know down in the comments below.